Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. It is the middle of May and hopefully we are in the shop for the duration of the season. The weather is getting nicer and that means it is time to go camping. But first, we have a radiator to replace on our 2005 F350. Right here is that radiator. I looked around, the Ford OE part was about $700 and I figured that was a little bit ridiculous. And Mishimoto, name you know and trust and love, has a OEM brand, version, model, spec, whatever you want to say, for about $200 and some. A decent savings there. So I'm going to give this one a try. The construction was just the same. You know, for $700 from Ford, I still had the same plastic caps, ends on it with a metal core. I didn't feel that spending the $800 and some for a full metal radiator was worth it. I mean, this one's lasted for almost 20 years. And if this one lasts another 20 years, that's going to outlive how long we have the pickup. So I think we're going to be just fine with this one here. And I'll show you in a second, but over here in the corner, right at that junction of the metal meets plastic is where our failure occurred. Very similar to what occurred led to the failure for our intercooler a couple years ago. Same design, plastic caps, metal core, whatever. And yeah. So I think I've got enough tools to get started. Again, we're just starting to get down here in the shop. I don't even have my TV down here yet. Just the camera and currently some workspace. So I'm sure I'll have to take a few timeouts to run up to the garage and grab more tools like my light for under here. But let's just get started taking things apart. So our problem area, again, difficult to see, but right in here is where the coolant has been trickling down. You can maybe see, like I said, I need to go up and grab some lights. You can kind of see some staining right there in the corner where the coolant has been leaking down. I thought maybe last year was just remnants from replacing my idler pulleys and all that stuff in the belt, but apparently something has given away even more so over the winter than it was last fall. And Cat, I brought the cat a litter box and she insists on crapping. Right there. Why use a little box when you've got a 4,000 square foot litter box, right? Yeah. Anyways, I've got to go grab my light and I've got some wrenches, but let's just grab that light so we can see what we're doing.
Tomorrow for sure.
Alrighty gang, we're back. It's the next day. Ended up, Mike came down last night to pick up his Model 3. So, you know, we just sort of sat in BS for a while and before you knew it, it was 9:30. And here we are. I did go ahead overnight and drain the coolant out of here, so we don't have that to worry about. There is just a little drain plug underneath. I will show you when we get underneath to disconnect the transmission line fittings. But for now, we've got a couple of pieces to take off on top, over here, and then our coolant hoses. These top brackets just come off with a 8mm socket, wrench, whatever you want to use. All right, these brackets pretty much just lift off. Then if you want, you can move your power lead out of the way. It's going to help with moving the radiator. Stay. We've got our line here. Well, it's going to be a 7 or a 6. Be a 7mm. Then we've got our shroud or fan shroud to pull off, but I'm probably going to have to go grab something for to lift it up and out. I forgot there are 2 bolts back here as well. And I forget if there's other mounting bolts down there or not. There may be. I've got to go look for. Yeah, let me go try and figure out what's holding that up. Down there, I think there's a bolt down there. It's been a while since I took this apart, you know, like last summer, but brain, beep, yeah. So, hold that thought. Okay, my problem was the cover for my aftermarket air intake was in the way of the shroud here. So now it does just take a little bit of prying up, whether it's pliers or a longer blade screwdriver or something, just to pull this up. Be mindful of the wires for your fan. You don't want to damage those. And with some creative finagling, there we go, there's our fan shroud. Now the next thing we've got to do is crawl underneath and disconnect those transmission lines with a transmission disconnect tool. I didn't have when I ran up to the local O'Reilly, $12 for the Ford vehicles, what's 3/8 and 1/2 inch clips. Let's see if we can focus right there. Let's take a look at this thing. Oh, look, unboxing in gloves. Hope I dropped my chain to keep them all together. All right. Anyways, you just split this open, slide it over the fitting, should wiggle it around, and you should hear it click and release. We'll get into that, but right now I've got to go to daycare, so we'll come back later on. Alrighty, well, albeit a little difficult to see under here, we have one of our transmission line fittings, and you should really just wiggle it around. It should snap off with my hand in the way. And off it comes. Your tool should easily slide onto here and come out. If you still have these things attached, it may help to either remove it from the line, or in this case, I guess, the little plastic tab has come out of its house over here on the core support, so no big deal. Let's see if I can set you up here. Oh, I just know you're gonna get full of it. Oh, transmission fluid. So here's our fitting. Here's our tool, and it just clamps, slips over and into here. You pretty much just wiggle it. And it should come out. It's gonna take some finagling to get it in where it needs to go. But eventually it will. Would you believe it if I said I did the other one already and it came right off without a problem? Yeah. Anyways, that's what you should do. You should wiggle it around and the fitting comes out without a problem. So let me keep working on this. Well, sure, as soon as I turn off the camera, all I had to do was pull harder, and it came right off. And now I've made a mess. So let's go topside and pull out this radiator. All right, well, that was one of those times where it would have been nice to A, have a concrete floor, or B, a vehicle lift, because I'm getting tired of crawling around under cars, especially on dirt. Anyways, let's go ahead and get this radiator lifted out of here. I don't think I'm caught in anything else. Ow. Oh, I didn't fully pull the old line out all the way for transmission, but now it should come right up and out. There we are. Now you can probably see it a little better. Right here is where the leak was. So glad to have that off. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and drop this in. A couple little pieces of plastic over our inlets and outlets, but should drop right back in. Just how it came out. Yeah, there's already a dead fly in there. Now I want to be careful so we don't damage any of the fins. That would be a bummer to replace this, only to have to replace it again. There you go. Let me go underneath quick. I think there's only one way it really drops in here. So let me look underneath. Missed one of the little pucks that goes on the pegs where this thing sits and resides. Sort of a shock bumper. It'll probably take a minute to get everything seated in there where it should go, but it's done. We can go put our transmission lines back on below and that lower coolant hose, so let's get that done first. Alrighty, so here's one of our transmission lines. It should push right into place. Then remember we have these little plastic clips that go over it to hold everything in place where it should be. We got one on there. And the other may be off camera for you. All right. An important thing with these is do not force the plastic clips because, well, if your truck is from 2005 like mine, some of these plastic bits may be getting brittle. And the last thing we want to do is break them. So everything down here, we have our coolant hose. Let's slide him on. Of course, I am working upside down and I'm left-handed, so that puts me at a significant disadvantage according to most of the world. All right, you're snugged up. Let's go back topside. All right, let's take our fan shroud. We'll put that back in here. And again, be mindful of the wires for your fan. You don't want to get that caught up in here anywhere. And there are two tabs. So it fits down in the bottom of the radiator housing. And in a perfect world, it should line up and drop in without a whole lot of frustration. Let me go look underneath. I think my tabs aren't quite lined up where they should be. Yep, they were not lined up where they should be. This is one of those times where having an assistant would be helpful. There we go. All right. Now we can put our, wherever my socket went, there we go. Put our retaining bolts in here, just like we took out. All right, tap this guy on. Where he goes. Let's go ahead and put these back on. Well, I suppose I could have put that battery cable back where it goes first. Now we can throw our bracket back on. Put our coolant hose back on. Good. Set this guy back on. And then we've got our air intake put back on. Let me find my wrench. Alrighty, there we go. Now we've got to go track down our antifreeze and add some of that in. Alrighty. The book says it takes 28 liters. I didn't get that much out, but it wasn't low on coolant. So who knows? I know I drained what was in the radiator, turned the truck back on, let it run for a minute or two to see if I could get anything else moving around in that water pump. But I'm gonna start out taking 2 of these jugs of concentrate, pour them in there, then I'm gonna mix 2 of these of fresh water. So we've got our 50-50 mix. That's gonna put us at almost 16 liters. And we'll see how that goes, see how much more coolant we need after that. Hello, cat. But you know, last time I drove it to get the tiller from the auction, it was leaking, and it probably leaked all the way down and all the way back, and I said, well, I've got a new radiator coming, so I may not have added anything back in. So it is possible that it is lower than I thought. All right, I'm gonna run up to the house quick, fill 2 of these things up because the water down here in the shop is not treated. There's quite a bit of iron in our water, and I don't need to introduce any more to this truck yet. So let me go fill these up, add it in, and then we'll see where we're at for our coolant level. Alrighty, we've got just under 4 gallons in here, and ran over the top. Of course, if you squeeze this upper radiator hose, you're gonna start sucking more in. So I'm just gonna turn it on, let it run for a minute, see if we can't burp some of these air bubbles out of here. Alrighty, well you can see I've got some more to add in yet, but that is going to be the ins and outs of it. It's not a terribly tough project. Really didn't need any special tools other than that $12 transmission disconnect tool I got from O'Reilly's. And other thing you want to make sure of once you are done is, I know we did leak out a little bit of transmission fluid, so you want to go ahead and make sure that that is still at the appropriate level once the vehicle is warmed up. So don't forget to check that. Otherwise, now it smells bad in here, but I'm going to go ahead, let this thing run, keep adding in more coolant, get everything topped off, and move on to our next project because camping season is upon us. So if this has been helpful at all, you know, big truck, but not a big job. So if you like the video, hit subscribe. If you have not yet, like the video, share it out. Maybe you've got a friend with an old Ford pickup who needs to do some maintenance, and they'll find this useful. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video with the Ford. We've got some more upgrades coming. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.